Welcome to round 2 of the effect of individual Net Promoter Scores on risk of cancellation. Just a reminder that we obviously run with you in mute throughout the webinar, but absolutely welcome any questions. If there are any questions along the way, please drop them into the box for Emma to pass on. And alternatively, we're going to leave them till the end of the broadcast to kind of go through questions. So, in this study, we go a step further on our research into Net Promoter Score and examine whether the NPS provided by a member can predict the risk of them cancelling in the 12 months following their completion of the survey. What's the answer? A definite yes. So a reminder of where NPS came from. Net Promoter Score is the measure of customer loyalty developed by Frederick Reichheld and his associates at Bain & Company and Satmetrics. It's a measure used by many leading brands across the world, including Apple, Amazon, Harley-Davidson, and other service providers I'm sure you would have had communications with. Published in 2006 in a groundbreaking book, The Ultimate Question, Driving Good Profits and True Growth. So the correlation between whether members, whether customers are loyal and the impact that it has on your business growth has absolutely been researched and concluded through this one survey. So the origins. Very much so through their development, statements such as the true mission of a business is to create value, again recognizing that value as your priority, as your focus, generated a great business ethos but also a great business productivity. So we're forgetting profits and we're focusing on value. Again, any business muddled through enough to believe that its real purpose is producing profit is probably not long for this world. Again, focusing on numbers, you get numbers. You focus on a mission, a statement, a value to that customer, that's what you'll reap, a loyal member. And one of the many reasons that businesses fail is that all their analysis and their learning revolves around profit. So all fundamental conclusions that came through the research into NPS and the value of NPS on said businesses. So the challenge and success of NPS is proving that it works, but within the industry that's being surveyed, and that it can actually be an effective impact, resource, and improvement on the business itself. That's what we're doing right now. So, standard customer feedback, what are they? What do they look like? Exit questionnaires, customer comments, whether they be verbal, whether we write them down, whether they come through the website. What are the problems with those platforms and forums for comments? Often they're very reactive. They come from a negative experience and they often are a result of frustration. Maybe it's one thing too many. Customers don't feel they're listened to, and then certainly the platform for them to air those frustrations is through our standard customer feedback. So a reminder of how the Net Promoter Score actually works. So we take all the feedback from the NPS survey recipients. We then break them down into promoters. Those are the members that give us the 9 and the 10s, the loyal, the raving fans. We then have fence sitters. So fence sitters are those guys that give us the 7 and the 8s, which generally we would think a good score. But what it's saying is that these guys are not really loyal, they're not raving fans, they're okay, they're happy, they're satisfied, but fundamentally the next best offer, the next best gimmick could pull them away from our service. And the detractors. These members are those people that are very disgruntled, very unhappy, very unsatisfied to a degree, maybe on the particular experience that they've had, but fundamentally they may be overall satisfied with the service. These guys are the danger, these are the warnings, these are the guys we need to be listening to and certainly making an impact on. So the scoring itself works in that you have a number of promoters, a number of passives, and a number of detractors. So if we imagine that we're actually removing those fence sitters, those passives out of the equation, they don't actually count. And then as a percentage of the group, we take the detractor score from the promoter score, leaving us with our NPS percentage. So of the 4 promoters, 4 passives and 2 detractors we had in this particular example, our NPS score is 20%. Highlighting how harsh it is to get a great score from the NPS survey, how brave you have to be to A, ask the question, but fundamentally welcome the feedback on any level, because you could be looking at as great a score as positive 100%, but also as negative a score as minus 100%. Fundamentally what we want to be doing is creating more promoters and less detractors. So what are the pitfalls of traditional customer satisfaction surveys? Absolutely, they tend to be very long and very complex. Too many questions, which leads our members to not want to respond. So the response rates are low. Definitely they're ambiguous results, which are often difficult to action. The sampling bias. Generally, again, we attract a certain group of members to respond, or we generate the surveys towards a certain member to get a better response. With the defectors, they're generally satisfied. They're not unhappy with everything, just something specific. And fundamentally, the traditional customer satisfaction surveys don't show a correlation with profit or growth. With that, that means that they're not taken seriously enough by senior management and they're not consistently audited. So if you imagine where we are right now, we have early indications through visit frequency. We know that the trend of attendance, if it starts to wane, if it starts to falter, this is an indication that members are in trouble. We then have, beyond that, the no visits. So if people stop coming, our members stop coming, that is your late warning. If we leave it to the point where our members have cancelled, absolutely we've missed and it's too late. So what if you had a pre-warning, something that gave you that indication that your members were likely to change their attendance habits, were likely to flow into a place where they were looking to cancel? The pre-warning is the NPS survey. So taking you back to the research. So of the sample group, 19,059 members from a variety of clubs. All of those members joined between January 2009 and March 2013. There were 3,393 cancellations during the 12 months that followed the completion of the NPS survey. So we characterised those members into detractors, passives and promoters. Detractors 18%, passives 29% and 53% promoters. The proportion of members in each NPS group according to their sex, age, group and period of membership was classified. There are more promoters in females than males and fewer detractors. And there's little difference in the NPS group across age groups. However, the proportion of promoters declines the longer a person has been a member, and the proportion of detractors increases. So does NPS predict the risk of cancelling in the 12 months following the score? Absolutely. Again, the figure you're looking at the moment, the proportion of members who cancel each month after joining by NPS group. So again, your blue is your detractor. So again, visually seeing that the detractor is less likely to stay and more likely to cancel. The red is your passive and the green your promoter. So a very similar kind of relationship with those passives and promoters with regards to their longevity of membership following that NPS scoring. So does the association between NPS and the rate of cancelling vary by sex, age group and length of membership? Let's see. So absolutely, the rate per 1,000 members cancelling as a result of their sex. In females, just above 35 per 1,000, and in males, slightly higher. So the detractors per 1,000 were cancelling more so, considerably more so, than the passives and the promoters. So across age groups, being a detractor is absolutely associated with a higher cancellation rate. And across the age group, being a detractor is a considerable risk. As reported many times before, age is associated with a reduction in the risk of cancelling. This can also be seen here. So promoters aged 35 to 44 years have the same rate of cancellation as detractors aged 45 plus. Across age groups, being a detractor is associated with a higher cancellation rate. And the differences in cancellation rates are mainly between detractors and passive members, with only a marginal difference between passive members and promoters. So for members in the first 3 to 6 months of their membership, being classified as passive rather than a detractor is associated with a reduction in cancellation rates. So if you imagine the figure ahead of you shows a marked difference in the effect of NPS group on cancellation rates by the period of their membership. So for the members in the first 3 to 6 months of their membership being classified as passive rather than a detractor, associated a reduction in cancellation. Being a promoter was not associated with any further reduction in cancellations. But for those members 9 months into their membership, the difference in cancellation rates for the 12 months after that NPS between detractors and passives were particularly marked. In addition, there was an additional reduction in cancellations between passives and promoters. So for longer term members, i.e. 12 and 24 months, promoters had a reduction in cancellations compared to the passives that was of a similar magnitude to the difference between detractors and passives. So how much do detractors increase the risk of cancellation? So if you imagine that 58% of your detractors are more likely to cancel within the 12 months following the NPS survey. 58%. The detractors were surviving 7 months average membership following the NPS compared to your promoters surviving an average of 10 months following membership after that NPS. So in conclusion, and what are the implications, the report absolutely shows that sex, age and length of membership are all associated with the NPS group. But being classified as a detractor significantly increases the risk of cancellation following that NPS survey. and the increased risk occurs even within the first month after the NPS. The additional benefit in terms of reduced cancellation rates of being a promoter is restricted to males and members who have been members for at least 9 months. The excess risk of being classified as a detractor is true for both genders, all age groups, and any length of membership, and for any club usage level. So overall, if all the members were classified as either passive or promoters rather than detractors, then approximately 6% of the 3,393 cancellations observed in those 12 months following the NPS survey would have been avoided. This increases to 10% of the cancellations being avoided in members 9 months into their membership length. So can creating loyalty really make a difference? There are many ways of creating loyalty and many examples of those loyalty schemes that have worked but likewise failed. So regardless of how your business model creates loyalty, getting it right can absolutely make a huge difference. Clubcard have definitely made their loyalty scheme work. American Express, another great example of a privileged reward scheme that has worked. And the Advantage card, definitely still long running, still achieving great productivity, but also value and reward to members. And again, another recognized loyalty scheme, contrasting in some ways to Clubcard, but very much affecting its members, its customers, and saying a big thank you. We isolate Tesco as an example. Why? Because it's absolutely transformed its perceptions amongst customers from a pilot high, sell it cheap, from a market trader stuck in the past to a progressive retailer that absolutely delivers on its promise that every little helps. It's now the largest UK supermarket, the world's largest internet supermarket, and the largest UK employer, absolutely holding true to its strapline, its vision about creating loyal customers. Clubcard has allowed Tesco to successfully overturn many of the preconceptions of supermarketing. It absolutely generates data, information, and collection, using that data to generate rewards for members, to upsell, to second sell, and to say thank you. This is Tesco's way of regularly showing its appreciations to the customers, often renowned as the world's biggest thank you. It's a recognition of Tesco's loyalty to its customers as well as their loyalty to Tesco's. £3 million a year spent on generating Clubcard. That's how important it is to Tesco's and fundamentally how beneficial it is to the business. Over £1 billion worth of vouchers have been given out to Tesco's customers. An expensive loyalty card, an expensive reward system, absolutely. And again, we can argue that on that level, they have the funds to be able to do that. But aren't we in a place whereby we can absolutely generate a bespoke loyalty system, reward creating, value creating, a big thank you to our customers, to our members, because we've got a blank canvas. So how can you create loyalty within your business? How do you thank customers now? How can you thank them better? And how can you thank them long term? How can you reward customers? And how can you develop a consistent and effective delivery of customer experience that creates loyalty, that generates the response within those NPS surveys of a 9 and a 10 every time? We're looking to grow those promoters rather than the detractors. So, back to the research. What were our key findings? So absolutely, sex, age, and length of membership all impact the NPS, with more promoters and fewer detractors in females than males. In males, the proportion of promoters increases with age, whereas in females, the proportion of promoters declines. For each month of membership after completing the NPS, a higher proportion of members classified as detractors cancel compared to passives and promoters. And the lowest rate of cancellation each month after that NPS survey is seen in the members classified as promoters, although the difference is only slightly better than members classified as passive. But most notably, being classified as a detractor significantly increases the risk of cancellation after that NPS survey has been completed. And the increased risk occurs within that first month. So, are we brave enough to ask the question? Maybe so. Are we absolutely proactive enough to deliver on the feedback that we get, or do we ignore it? When fundamentally ignoring it could be the result of those members cancelling as quick as a month after that survey is completed. So we need to put processes in place that allow us to act upon the feedback to prevent the detractors from leaving. So the question is, are you equipped well enough to do this? What are our next steps? Absolutely, we review the research. Honestly assess your own methods of feedback. Are you actively speaking to your detractors? Are you actively welcoming a feedback environment? Customers are welcomed to continually communicate with you, regularly communicate with you, and again are shown that you're acting upon their feedback. You may not be able to make a difference with everything, but you're communicating to explain why, to explain where you are, to explain where that feedback is helping you enhance your service provision. Are you using the feedback to make a difference to customers, to generate fantastic experience based upon what your members are actually saying? Are you actually looking to prevent dropout before it's even occurred? Do you have that pre-warning in place? Can you determine remedial actions that you can take, that your teams can take, to prevent customers from becoming detractors in the first place? And if they are detractors, what's your combustion points to allow you to change those experiences into positive experiences and move those detractors into passives and ideally up into those promoters? Obviously, we welcome that you talk to us about any assistance we can give you at this stage, any information that we can support to generate that wonderful environment of feedback, opening up the world of NPS to your customers, being brave enough to take that step, but fundamentally opening up your business to a wealth of productivity, profit growth through loyal members. Thank you very much for your time this afternoon. If there are any questions, please don't hesitate to feed them back to us, and we will certainly endeavour to answer them as best we can. And once again, thank you for your time.